everyone, it's Maria here. Do I look funny to you? So today I'm going to show you 7 makeup mistakes that I feel you do, sometimes we all do, that age us. I'm going to create half a look on one face and half a look on the other side. I'm going to talk about placement and color choice and errors that I feel are so easy to do when we kind of get stuck in that rut of doing our makeup the same way, that we did in our 20s and now we're in our 50s, 60s and beyond. And so I created 2 different looks here, with shades and colors that I think complement me the best. But I also talk about the 7 mistakes that I see being done and my clients actually ask me about, or I feel like I have to correct in my clients most of the time. So if you're interested in seeing what these 7 common makeup mistakes are that can age you, then just keep watching. Okay, so mistake number 1 is not prepping your skin for makeup application. We expect so much out of our makeup, but not all makeup is actually nourishing. So you need to prep your skin before you start makeup. Everything is going to look beautiful on well taken care skin. I mean, almost everything, okay, except some of the stuff that I'm going to show you. But you really need to make sure that you plump up the skin, that you have something hydrating. So today I'm going to use the Rose and Frankincense. It's just a little bit of serum by Living Libations. So something, light and something fast absorbing. You don't need a lot of stuff in the morning. And if you are a lover of the oils, keep those for the evening. If you are super dry, you could put on a little bit of oil. Just make sure you keep it away from your eyes and, keep it on the kind of periphery of your face. But I just prefer to use something that is going to plump up my skin, give me some hydration. Don't forget your neck and don't forget the back of your hands. And then once that has almost absorbed, I'm going to go in and use an face cream. So I'm going to use the Iremia Soothing Lotion today. And I'm going to mix it in with what you would call a primer. So now if you're wondering if you need a primer, that's just a personal choice. I feel like if the skin is, prepped, you should be okay. But I do love Face Glow by Graydon because of the illumination that it gives to the skin. And it is a primer, illuminator, tinted moisturizer. So I'm going to take a little bit of my moisturizer and then I'm going to go in and cut the primer in it. So just to give a little bit more, boost of nutrition. So I'm just going to blend it in and then apply it to the skin. And if your moisturizer is safe to bring around the eye area, please do, but be very careful with this area as, you do want your makeup to stay in place. So just do a really good application and bring it almost up to your eyes. I find that a lot of products seem to end up inside your eyes. So, you can do a little like eye massage and just whatever is remaining on your fingers, just press it into that area. So just don't put too much there, okay? Everything else can just go in the back of your hands. And you can see that it gives you a really beautiful boost of luminosity. The skin is plump and hydrated. It has bounce to it. And this is so important. You want all your makeup to go on well, taken care of canvas. You want it to be well moisturized and hydrated. So let's get on with the second one. The second error I see a lot of women in their, middle years and beyond make is to ask me for a full coverage foundation. So until recently, I only carried tinted moisturizers in my store, and I also carried these in my kit. And I feel like products like this can be built up. You want more coverage? Add a concealer. You want more coverage? Add a little bit of a powder foundation on top of it. Or wear it alone. There's so many different things you can do with this. But, recently I did start carrying the Fuller Coverage by Pure Anada. Now, both of these are natural products and they have beautiful ingredients in them. But when people ask me, do you have a full coverage foundation? My first question is, why? What do you want to cover up. And there are so many different ways to do it by taking lighter products that you can wear alone and building them up. Now, the foundations, of course, how much coverage you get, of course, depends on your application tool as well. I love a damp beauty blender to push the foundation into the skin. On my own, like most days, I just apply this with my fingers. But again, you want it to be on well-hydrated skin. If your skin is dry, anything you put on your skin is just going to be like starving and like so thirsty and like pull it all in, right? So, I mean, at least make sure that the foundation is giving you something back. So again, ingredients here are, you know, of the most importance here. So you need to make sure that if you are going to be giving your skin a foundation, that it is nourishing. So what ingredients are in there that are actually nourishing your skin? Do you know for your foundation what's in it? I can tell you these here have sunflower oil, they have rose hip, they have pomegranate, grapeseed oil. So make sure you do a little bit of work. And if you want a fuller foundation, have you considered getting like a concealer and a tinted moisturizer and just building up the coverage for the days you need it? You can do so much more with that. If you want a sheer application, you can apply it with a damp beauty blender. You can put this under your tap, squeeze out the water, and then kind of just like push the foundation into the skin. Even if it's a fuller coverage foundation, the dewiness in the wet sponge is going to cut it out. What I'm going to do today, just for you know, a quick application, I am going to apply the full coverage foundation with a brush because it's much faster. So I am going to do the same base. I don't think this base is, this foundation is horrible. Otherwise I wouldn't be carrying it. But, you know, for everything else, I am going to do for you half the side, right? So now you are probably noticing that Maria does not start with concealer. This is going to be my third kind of mistakes that I see happening. A lot of videos have been done on this topic, on makeup mistakes, and what I see people and other makeup artists doing again and again is they apply the concealer first. Did you see how much discoloration was on my face? Did you see how purple my eyes were? And I just applied the tiniest amount of foundation. I mean, it's gone, but I'm just using the, you know, the brush to kind of blend it in. If you find anywhere in the middle of your application that things are looking dry, you can always go in and mist it. So I have the Iremia comb mist here. See how beautiful this looks? Just push it into the skin. And I know it's full coverage, but we're just playing with the tiniest amount of color. What I want you to look at is the difference that it made on my under eye area. Now, a lot of people apply the concealer first. And this is my third topic, is the concealer. If you apply concealer first, you're using so much concealer. Then you're going on top and applying your full coverage foundation. Do you see what I'm getting here? That is just way too much product. If I do a light pass of that foundation, or even the tinted moisturizer, which is my everyday product, I need way less of everything else because I've done the first pass. Do you see how it just kind of has helped with the under eye area? Now mine are really bad, so I do realize that I need to do something more. So what is it that the foundation, your base, what is it that it didn't cover? And then go in with that. Now, if you need a corrector, the same thing goes. I mean, I see now that there is something else to touch up here, and you could go in and do a bit of corrector. If you have a lot of purple, you know, get in the corners, get this here, and only do it where you actually need it. I see people applying concealer and they're like whoosh and whoosh. They apply so much of it everywhere. You don't need it everywhere. So let me show you. So let's say you need a little bit of a corrector. So I don't have a corrector in a cream form that is from the clean makeup brands I carry. So I'm going to use this Smashbox and Becca. This is the Fair Light Under Eye Corrector. And it has this kind of like really nice peachy, you know, shade that is going to help with my discoloration. Now, the placement of the concealer is something that people don't usually talk about a lot, and it has to be strategic. It has to be strategic if you're someone like me who suffers from the darkness and also suffers from the puffiness. Okay, if I apply the concealer, or I mean my concealer everywhere, what it's going to do is it's going to accentuate the puffiness, because for concealer, I always go up one shade. You want it to brighten, right? The corrector is going to do the job of, you know, if the concealer doesn't cover it. But I feel like using too much concealer does not help you. Use a tiny bit of a corrector, right? Push it into the skin. My eyelids have a lot of discoloration, so you want to bring that up. And then whatever the corrector didn't get, you're going to go in with the tiniest amount of concealer. So for the concealer, I'm going to use the liquid concealer by Pure Nata in Very Fair. And I'm going to put a tiny amount on my hand. And then I'm going to go in with their Duo eye brush. And I really love the thin side, the thin angle side here. I'm going to pick up this concealer, and, you know, all kinds of different things happen around the eyes as we get older. So if you are someone who suffers with the depth and also maybe suffers with puffiness, you cannot do concealer the way other YouTubers are showing you. You cannot just apply the color all the way across, because you're going to end up accentuating the puffiness, and we don't want that. So you have to be a little bit of an architect or an artist perhaps. So I have the depth here, and I'm going to conceal that, and you can see the minute I pop it on here, it kind of softens it up. It stops being as dark as it was, or deep. So that's where the lighter concealer goes. Now for the purple and everything else over here, we're also dealing with puffiness. We want to be very strategic, because sometimes when we use concealer, we end up bringing, you know, the different kind of structures or the different like levels of the eyes forward, and that's not what we always want. It's the same as you know, a hooded eyelid. Would I put a bright highlighting eyeshadow on a hooded eyelid? I wouldn't, because that just would accentuate the hoodiness that would just bring it out. So for the concealer, we kind of want to correct only where we need it. So it's going to be there at the deepest part. Everywhere else, I always recommend people have a couple different concealers, and you can use one that's exactly like your skin tone. If your line, your depth goes all the way around, of course you want to use some of that as well to touch it up. All right, so that would be my technique. Now on the other side, it's going to be, I think, kind of hard to catch on video. I'm going to apply the concealer everywhere, and how people apply it is like this. They put it everywhere underneath their eye, and then we're just going to tap it in. It might be kind of hard to see what I mean with bringing out the puffiness, but I think you can understand that much, that if we have something that's puffy or overhanging or too strong, that we don't want to accentuate it. It might be kind of hard to catch that on the video, but trust me, when people look at you close up, they're going to be able to see it, because we're highlighting the puffiness, okay? So less is always more, so just use a little bit and then go and blend it in. Okay, so let's talk about the fourth thing that I see a lot of people doing wrong, and that is using too much powder. So I am going to go ahead and powder the concealer, and I'm going to do the one side here with just a tiny bit of powder and a small brush. So this is the MAC 225 brush. So I'm going to dip it in the smallest amount of powder, and I'm going to shake it off, and I'm only going to set the concealer in place. You make sure that it hasn't creased before you set it, and you need to do the entire eye, because we apply concealer on the whole eye. And that would be it for powder. So the mistake I see people making is that they use a bigger brush. The bigger your brush is, the more powder, the more product you pick up. So, and they go in and then they just like go to town with the powder. They dip it in here, they use tons of powder, and they powder their entire face. So, and when you're doing that, you're mattifying everything, but it also makes your skin more dry. It can accentuate any imperfections, any dryness, any fine lines, and you really don't need to powder your entire face unless you actually struggle with oiliness. No one has a completely matte face. You have to have some kind of glow to it and some kind of like dimension. With powders, I also want to mention a blush that's a powder. So there are a lot of different blushers that are in powder form. But again, if you are struggling with fine lines up here, you need to kind of like, you know, see that location and how you're doing, because that's where your blush is going to go. Applying a blush on that spot of your face can actually make it look drier, and it will accentuate those lines. So I am going to do a powder blush on here, and I'm going to apply it also in the wrong spot. So I wanted to talk, of course, about powders, but, you know, placement is so important. So I am picking up the Daylily by Pure Anada, and I'm going to apply it lower than I usually do. All right. So a lot of women smile and then they put the blush on their cheeks. I want to make it stronger, but I did put too much on. So I'm just going to blend it out with a clean brush. This creates kind of like a heaviness lower down on the face, and it creates a heaviness close to the nasolabial folds where we don't want it. So applying the color there, you know, and then even if you blend it in, it just ends up being very heavy on that part of the face. All right, just all the heaviness is down here. Now on the other side, we're going to go and apply a cream blush, because the cream blush is the opposite from the powder, so I need to give you another option. So if we're not going to use a cream blush because we see those lines, what are we going to use? So there's lots of cream blushers on the market. Today I'm going to use the Pink House Rose Gold. This one here is a glow stick that can look fabulous on many areas of your face, including your eyelids. And this is a cream blush, and we're going to start at the cheekbone, which for me is right there, and we're going to go upwards. Okay, and then when we blend it, we go up. And then this way, it gives the skin some warmth, and it's also lifted. Can you see the difference, how heavy this is here? And then with the cream blush, which is what you're gonna use to replace the powder blush, if it's causing you trouble, would be this, and then you would apply it just higher up on the cheek. Okay, so the fifth mistake I see women make in middle age and beyond is using a black pencil. What is it with the black pencil? I don't understand. So using a black pencil around the eyes in a really heavy way. So I'm going to show you what to use instead, because a black pencil can look so harsh and it can age you. The other thing that it does is that it doesn't help with the heaviness. If you have a smaller eyelid and you have seen things starting to drop, why are you making it smaller? Black makes things smaller. So you need to switch it up to another shade. For example, Pure Anada has 4 different eye pencils, and I absolutely love their navy, right? You can see that it's so beautiful. They have a slate, which is a gray, really pretty as well. And they also, of course, have your, kind of trusted brown. So there are so many different options. You don't have to do black, as that can look very harsh. And especially because we lose kind of like warmth on the skin and we look more shallow, I guess, that the black can look so stark against skin like that. So, for a special occasion, a little bit of black along the lash line perhaps is doable. But I mean, when you have all these other options, why always opt for black? The other thing would be, again, your color choice with eyeshadows. And I have done another video, which I'm going to link here. It's called, how to make your eyes like look more awake. So your choice of eyeshadows says it all. So if you have, dark circles, and if you have a lot of purple, you're not going to go for any of the purple eyeshadows, right? That's just going to accentuate the discoloration and the little veins that we start to see as the skin ages, especially around the eyes. So I'm going to show you what to use instead of a black pencil, and we're going to do just a simple eye look. We're going to stick to more matte neutrals here, so we don't accentuate the fine lines or crepey skin with a lot of the more shimmery eyeshadows that are in this palette. So all of these are the Pure Anada eyeshadows. There's quite a range, but there's also a lot of matte colors that can be, very easy to do. And you don't need to do a complicated eye. You could just choose one eyeshadow for the daytime. If you have a hooded eyelid, perhaps you want to do one of the more taupe eyeshadows to create, a lift on the eye. I've done some other videos that talk about that. But let's get started with an eyeshadow that you're just going to apply as a base, just to give a little bit of warmth to the eye. Of course, consider what color your eyes are, but eyeshadows that are just shimmery, right? They have a lot of mica, and sometimes the colors too, it can look dated. So just make sure that you choose something neutral. I think you can never go wrong with your neutral eyeshadows. They're always in style. So as my base color, I'm going to use Ecru. Okay, so this is a beautiful matte eyeshadow. It's almost like a golden peach, which I feel looks great with lighter eyes. And I'm just going to apply it all over the eyelid. And remember that we've prepped the eyes with concealer, so we want things to stay in place. So I feel like using concealer in that way cuts out other unnecessary products. If you do use an eye primer and you find that it works for you, fantastic. But a prepped eye is an eye that has concealer on it and it's been powdered. And you can see right away by just applying this eyeshadow that I look more awake and the eye is a little bit more open than this one here. And again, it just depends on your eye shape and how much space you have on the eyelid to put all this stuff on. If you have a smaller eye, just keep it very simple. One eyeshadow just to add a little bit of, a little bit of an eye-opening effect and a little bit of eyeliner is great. So for the eyeliner, I am gonna use the navy. And what you wanna do with the pencil, you wanna make sure that it's really well sharpened, and then you can go and apply it just on the edge of your eye. It doesn't have to be everywhere. So again, placement, like the eyeshadow, the colors matter. Are you placing it heavily all over the eyelid? The same for the pencil, because a lot of people use black and then they go in and kind of line the eye all around, which means that they close it up. Okay, and if you're not that great, if you have a shaky hand with your eyeliner, if you don't think you are doing it in a really, great way, you can go in and just like smooth it a little bit or soften it up. The line doesn't have to be strong and harsh like this. Now on the other eye, let's have a little bit of fun with our black liner. So on the other side, I'm going to use black, and I'm going to do it in a way that I usually see it. People don't blend it in. They apply the black pencil and then just leave it there. And I just want to go up to them and like start rubbing it in. So they apply too much and they apply it all over the eyelid. Now I know my eyes are bigger and more open, and perhaps you'll see it and you'll say, Maria, that doesn't look so bad because my eye can carry color. However, consider these things for yourself. Are you, okay using this much black eyeliner? And I'm gonna bring it to the inner corners because that's not what you should be doing, just to show you. The other mistake I see people doing is then they go and they bring it and they create a line underneath, like a strong line without blending it in, and they put it even in the waterline. Okay, so you can see the difference, how closed up this eye looks. I mean, I don't know, I think it's too much for day and night. It needs to be more blended. So if that's kind of the look that you're going for, you can't just apply the black liner and leave it there. You need to smudge it in, or you need to create more of maybe a soft smoky eye effect if your eye can carry that. Otherwise, this is a no-go for the daytime. You don't need that much. And I also think that your mascara is going to add so much more. Perhaps this looks simple, right? We just did a simple eye just to show you. I mean, there's so many different designs you can do with the eyes, but I just want to show you the difference, how, just stronger this eye looks. Let's apply mascara to both, and you can see what difference the mascara will make on this softer side as well. Okay, so do you see that? You really need a good mascara application, and you need a nice wand, like a thin wand that's gonna go under there. Although I have a little bit of that navy liner, by building up the roots on this side, it looks a bit stronger, like, if that's what you're going for, just because we added mascara. Now, imagine this on the other side. So let's do it. You can see that this eye is already like looking heavier, and also putting it underneath, right? Because I think most people would apply the mascara underneath, but there's already so much pencil there. You have to be very delicate with the mascara underneath the eyes. I don't apply that much. Sometimes I don't apply any at all if I feel like it's going to drag the eye down or pick up on any shadows, but a tiny bit is okay. And you can tell how much open this eye looks and how heavier this one looks over here. So number 6, let's talk about the most expressive part of our face, which is actually our brows. So the mistakes here are with the shape of the brow. So if you have someone who does your eyebrows and they're really good at it, fantastic. Let them know that you don't want your eyebrows going down on the edges, because that's one of the biggest things that can actually drag your face down and create a lot of heaviness there and age you. The other thing would be creating a really strong brow. So having a really dark shade, something that is way beyond your natural hair. So let's start with that. And I'm going to use the Plume Brow Bombs for both of these, but I'm going a shade darker for this side here, which I'm going to use the Chestnut Decadence. It's a lovely shade, but it can look very dark on me, especially in the summer when I have highlights. So I am going to apply the color more in like a block kind of way. So I'm not going to make it look so natural, I guess. So it's just like more blocky, and I see this kind of eyebrow, which, you know, it could be personal preference, but I'm just going to show you the effect that it has on the face. Okay, so we did a tail, a very strong tail to this brow, and it's pointing a little bit downwards, still following my eyebrow shape. Okay, I don't want you to think I'm doing these things on purpose, but just more for you to be aware. So it's a darker color, and it's kind of the same all the way through. So dark at the front and then dark at the bottom here. Combined with the eyeliner, now you can see the effects of all of these things together. On the other side, let's use my regular shade, which is the Ashy Daybreak, again, by Plume. And for this one, I'm just going to be a little bit more light-handed, because I don't usually do a super strong brow like this unless, I don't know, I'm going out for the evening and it's a dark event, like I'm going to be in dark light. So for the brow on this side, I'm just going to do small hair-like strokes. So, okay, can you see the difference? The shape is not that different. However, on the edge here, you don't want it to go down. I mean, even if your hair goes down, just make sure that you have it tweezed or waxed, threaded, and make sure that you stop a little bit before the tail, so you don't create like color heaviness right at the bottom of the brow, right? Huge difference. Okay, and number 7 is the lips. I think the lips, depending on the type of product you choose and the shade you choose, kind of like the eyes, whether you go for matte or frosty, it can age you. Frosted lipsticks are usually associated, I don't know, with a few decades ago. Now we opt for a more creamy look, maybe something that's a little bit glossy. So we're not going to go for anything super shiny here. I don't think that shine is a bad thing, especially if you suffer from drier skin and also drier lips. So I think that the frosts and a lot of shimmer can sometimes age us, but I think also the opposite is true. Lifeless, super dry, matte lips can also age us. So what I'm going to show you is some nudes, all right? I'm not wearing anything on here today. So I want to show you, I have 3 beautiful shades by Pure Anada. These are their new kind of creamy nude shades. We have Innocence, Carefree, and Sweetness. And I'm going to show you the overall effect on me, on my skin, on my natural lip color, because that's going to make a difference when I apply these. I can already tell which one I think would look great on me, but let's start off with Innocence. Innocence is gorgeous, but you can already see, can you see my complexion and how much more golden I am? Let's see how this looks, all right, shall we? Okay, do you see what's happening here? This is way too light for my complexion. It's way too light for my lips. So although I love a good nude too, you know, just like you might, this does not work out. Kind of like just drains life out of my face. So let's remove it because that's not working out. And if you're thinking, Maria, how do I know? How do I know what a good nude would be? The best way to do it is to go shopping without any lipstick on, and you need to hold the lipsticks up against your lips. The lipstick always has to be darker than your lips, all right? So 2 other shades here. This one here is Carefree. So let's use this one next. It's a little bit better, but at the same time, with this kind of simple look, For me personally, it's not enough color. All right, so that one was Carefree. So let's remove this one as well. I want to show you one more. So last one, this one is Sweetness. And this one you can already tell. Can you tell how this has a lot more warmth to it? Okay, I think for the daytime, for spring or summer, this one would be the best out of the three. So you can have kind of more warm nudes. You can have super pale pink nudes. If you are fair and your lips are really fair as well, you can probably rock one of those other shades. But for me, I have too much warmth on my skin and it just pales me out. So you don't want to create a lifeless makeup look. You want some life to it. So I could probably wear this during the day. So now if you have a few different nude lipsticks on hand and you've purchased them, I think we all have lipsticks somewhere in our makeup drawer that we don't use, or we bought them and then we realized that they pale us out. A good way to use those up, if you like them, if you like the feel of them, is to bring in a lip gloss, or this actually in particular is a lip oil by Tin Feather, and I love this shade. This one is Richie, so it's a really beautiful peachy nude. The reason I love this is because it's gonna really help bring the warmth to that pale lipstick. So I have this shade on here, but even applying it to the middle of the lips, you don't have to apply it everywhere. It creates a lot more dimension and more hydration. This is actually another way to correct a matte lipstick. So let's say you have a lipstick that you found quite drying. You've purchased all these things. You're not just gonna chuck it unless you really hate it. But you can bring in a moisturizing lip oil such as this and just put it on top of the lipstick. If you like the shade and it's just the dryness that you can't deal with, it can definitely correct that and make it look actually, quite pretty. So I'm gonna use Marvel. And with a shade like this, you can actually just blot it and push it into the skin. You don't have to apply it everywhere really, really strongly. Okay, so now you see it with the lighter eye here, the lighter brow, and it looks lovely because I don't have strong makeup. However, when you look at it over here, you see how strong and severe everything looks together, right? Whereas with the other side, it actually pulls it all together and gives a little bit of warmth and a little pop on the skin because we've left everything else quite light. Okay, everyone, thank you so much for being here. Please let me know in the comments how you like these tips. Let me know which error you are making right now. And I hope that my tips are going to give you some, information and advice about how to correct that so you can have a more, light, youthful, and makeup look that is kind of classic, that's not going to age you unnecessarily. Let me know how you like the video. Pop your comments down below. Thank you so much for being here, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you. I'll catch you in the next one.